Okay. So I began our motivation by talking about the preciousness of this human life and how important it is to use our time in a wise way and not to just waste our life. So what is it that wastes our life? Okay, how can we avoid wasting our life? Well, the last few evenings we've been talking about, at the beginning, the disadvantages of the self-centered mind. And in fact, it's self-centered mind that wastes our life. Okay, because it's our self-centered mind, our selfish mind that's thinking, me, and I want. Okay, I need. I have to have, I should have, the world owes me. Okay, so this kind of mind that's very focused on ourself, that then becomes very attached to the sensual pleasures of this life. Okay, so we become very attached to nice sounds and smells, tastes and touches and sights. We always want to have very nice sexual experiences. And they're also very attached to our reputation, aren't we? We want a whole group of people to know how wonderful we are and not say anything or think anything bad about us. We're also very attached to people's praise and approval, to other people telling us that we're good, okay, and that what we're doing is good. And then lastly, we're very attached to, starts with an M. What is it?
Money.
Oh, money. Imagine that. Are we attached to money and possessions? Okay. And so with this kind of attachment, that's a very self-centered mind, wanting all of these things for me, then we spend our whole life running around, struggling for happiness, actually. Happiness becomes a big struggle because we're always on the lookout. How can I have the most pleasure? Okay. And that mind that is struggling for happiness and on the lookout for the most pleasure becomes very, very confused. And that's the mind that can't make a decision. Okay? Do some of you suffer from indecisiveness? You can't make a decision. Should I do this? Should I do that? Maybe I should do this other thing. Well, what is it that causes this indecisiveness? It's this mind that's very attached to our own pleasure of this life, because we're trying to get the most pleasure out of every small thing that we do. Okay? When it comes time to eat a meal, we sit there and we go, well, what should I eat? I go out to the hawker stand or to the restaurant. You say, well, what should I eat? Shall I have rice? Shall I have noodles? Shall I have this dish? Shall I have that dish? Maybe I should have this other one. Not long ago, some people invited me for a meal. They spent 45 minutes talking about what to eat. Yeah? 45 minutes. Now, of course, you get the food. You eat it quicker than 45 minutes, don't you? And while you're eating it, you're talking, so you're barely even tasting it. But they had to spend 45 minutes so that they could get exactly what they felt like eating, And they enjoyed the conversation immensely. I thought it was very boring, to tell you the truth. Shall we have broccoli? Shall shall we have salad? Shall we have rice or noodles? I find that kind of conversation very boring, but these people thought it was extremely fascinating. Okay, so we go through this kind of indecisiveness about what to eat because we're so attached to finding pleasure. Okay, you know what the criteria are that I use for making a decision? It's not how can I get the most pleasure. The criteria I use is which decision will help me create the most positive potential and enable me to keep my precepts best. Imagine using that as a criteria for making a decision. You know, should you go here? Should you go there? Should you do this? Should you do that? And you say, well, which situation would allow me to live in ethical conduct better? Think that before making a decision? Or criteria, how can I have the most pleasure? How can I get my way? Another criteria I use for making a decision is which one is going to be of the most benefit for sentient beings? Which option will help me cultivate the bodhicitta and attain enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings? Okay. So those are the two things that I use. You know, where can I keep my precepts best and live an ethical life? Which situation will help me generate bodhicitta and attain enlightenment? And according to that, then I choose this or this or this. Okay? Why? Because whatever little pleasure I get this life, it's nice, but it's here and it's gone. So it's not worth worrying about so much. It's not worth spending so much time trying to think, how am I going to get the most pleasure? Because whatever pleasure we have, it's here and the next moment it's gone, isn't it? Yeah? I mean, you ate dinner. Where's the pleasure from eating dinner? Does it still exist right now? No, it's gone. Yeah? It's finished. Is it ever going to come back? No. Okay?
Like a dream.
So, yes, it's very much like a dream. But what I'm getting at is when we run around just looking for these pleasures, they're here and they're gone. Yeah? And what do we have instead is the accumulation of the karma that we created by trying to get all of these pleasures. Okay, so for example, when we're very attached to having a good reputation and we have aversion to having a bad reputation, we'll do all sorts of things, won't we? Okay, to get a good reputation, what do? We put on a nice face, don't we? Yeah? We look all sweet and all smiley. We say all sorts of wonderful things to other people that we don't mean at all, do we? You know, but we want them to think nice of us. So we say all these nice things. We want a good reputation. Oh, you're so wonderful. You're so good. You're so this and that. And behind their back we go, did you see that person? So terrible. Ooh. You know, so we put on, we're very two-faced, aren't we? Yeah? To get a good reputation, we're not acting sincerely at all. Instead, we say what we think other people want to hear to their face, and behind their back, they're so terrible, don't like them. We try and give them a bad reputation, thinking that then we'll have a good one. But when we trash somebody else and criticize them behind their back, do we get a good reputation? Yeah, think about it. When you listen to somebody else criticize a third person behind their back, do you think well of the person who's doing the criticizing? Do you? Okay, think about it. Because what I think is if somebody is telling me, is criticizing somebody else behind their back and telling me somebody else's, all the nasty things they do, then I think, oh, I better be careful because this person is going to go criticize me behind my back. It's true, isn't it? Yeah, if somebody has the habit of criticizing other people behind their back, very difficult for us to trust them. Because if we criticize someone else, they're going to criticize us too. Okay. Now, what about if it's us criticizing other people behind their back? Okay. Are other people going to trust us when we do that? I don't think so. They're going to say, oh, look at him, look at her, trashing somebody else behind their back. I bet you they're going to talk that way about me. I better not become friendly with them. Okay, so you see this mind that's looking for a good reputation and to avoid a bad reputation, it actually creates a bad reputation for us. Yeah, and it creates a lot of negative karma because we create the negative karma of talking behind somebody's back and creating disharmony. Okay? What about when we're attached to praise and approval? You know, when we want other people to say nice things to us and to approve of us, to like us. You know, we all want people to go, oh, you're so wonderful. And then we go, and we act very shy, don't we? You know, but we're going more, more, more. Yeah. And we want them to say, you're so wonderful, you're so talented, you're so good looking. Who, me? You know, you're so rich. Oh, how did you notice? You know, and so we're wanting to hear people say all sorts of nice things to us. Then we get kind of puffed up and arrogant. Oh, they approve of me. They think I'm good. Therefore, I must be good. Okay. Is that true? That if other people say nice things to you, it means you're a good person? Doesn't mean it at all. Because people can say all sorts of things to us that they don't mean. And even if they do mean it, if we don't have confidence in ourselves, we can hear lots of nice words, but our feeling of lack of self-esteem is not going to go away. Yeah. So sometimes we think, oh, if only more people praise me, then I'd feel good about myself. I'd know I was a good person. But in actual fact, the whole world can praise us. But if we don't believe in ourselves, you know, that feeling of ache inside doesn't do any good. But not realizing that, then with our self-centered mind, we try and go about doing all these things that are going to make other people like us and make other people approve of us. So we act very insincerely. Yeah, we say things we don't mean. We flatter people and praise them when we really don't mean it. We do, especially, you know what we do? When we meet somebody who we want to like us, what is it we do? We think, what do I need to become so that that person will like me? Okay? What do I need to do? What do I think they think I should be? Isn't that what we think? What do I think they think I should be? Because if I can become what I think they think I should be, then they'll like me. And so especially when you meet somebody you're romantically attracted to, oh, how can I become what I think he thinks I should be? Okay? So then you get an idea of what you think the other person thinks you should be, and you try and become it. Of course you aren't that, are you? Yeah. So you're putting on a big face, you're pretending to be somebody that you aren't. And then if they fall for you and think that you're wonderful, yeah, then after they love you, then you say, okay, now I don't have to be what they want me to be anymore. I can just be myself. And then all of our nasty qualities come out. We boss the person around, we pester them, we nag them, we criticize them. And they say, what happened to you? You aren't acting anything like you were when I fell in love with you. And we say, well, I'm just the same person. Yeah, but, well, maybe we are, but we aren't acting the same way. Okay, because before we were trying to become what we thought they think we should be. Okay, so we made them fall in love with somebody that we weren't. Is that a good foundation for a marriage? Yeah, making somebody fall in love or leading somebody to fall in love with somebody who you aren't. Are you going to have a happy marriage? Okay. So I think we need to try in our relationships to be who we are, okay? And not to try and be other than what we are. Okay. Now, does that mean that we should just be nasty to other people from the very beginning? No. You know, does it mean we shouldn't be nice to them and then later be nasty? No. Okay, it means we should really try and change ourselves and be sincere and be a kind person right from the very beginning. Okay, but we need to be who we are, because if we go through our whole life trying to please other people, we're never going to succeed in pleasing them. Yeah, because what other people want us to be is unlimited. Okay? If we try and just become what other people want, they're never going to be satisfied, and you know what? Neither will we. Okay? Because we can't go through our whole life pretending to be something that we aren't. And we can't go through our whole life living a life that we think they think we should live. Okay? So we all have our own unique talents, our own unique abilities. We need to figure out what those are and live from that space in our own hearts, and live with a kind intention, really wanting to be of benefit and service to others. If we do that, then we're being sincere and we're being honest with people. We're not putting on a face and pretending to be what we aren't. Okay? And then if they like us, we know that they like us for who we are. Yeah, and we also are ourselves trying to be a kinder person, because we recognize that, you know, kindness is what establishes good relationships, not trying to please other people with an insincere motivation. Are you getting what I'm talking about? Yeah, is this making some sense to you? Now, really think about it. Because if you're always trying to be somebody that you think your parents want you to be, or you're trying to be what your friends want you to be, or what your boss wants you to be, you're never going to succeed in completely, you know, being that. And in the meantime, whatever unique talents and abilities you have aren't going to have an opportunity to come out and be used. Okay? And instead you're just, you know, putting on a face, being what you aren't, and eventually it's all going to crumble, isn't it? Yeah? Because we all know what happens when we are insincere. We can't hold that up our whole life, can we? We can't hold it up for very long, in fact. So we should really try and just be, you know, who we are, and use our own unique abilities. And be kind, okay? But not try and please people just because we want them to like us. Because that doesn't really work, okay? It just brings a lot of confusion in our life and in their lives. But instead, okay, we need to look inside ourselves and see, okay, is what I'm doing, ethically correct? Am I a good person on the inside? Because if we're just acting like a good person on the outside, we still don't feel good about ourselves. And our lack of self-esteem, our insecurity, that comes from inside of us, even if the whole world praises us. Okay? So we need to learn to evaluate our own actions. And instead of just looking for other people to say, oh, you're so wonderful, to really look and be honest with ourselves, and ask ourselves, was I acting kindly, or was I trying to impress somebody? Did I help somebody because I really cared about them, or did I do it to try and make them like me? Because being kind in order to make somebody like us, that's not creating good karma. It's basically lying, isn't it? Yeah, it's not very sincere. Okay. Does that mean we should just harm people? No, it doesn't mean that. We have to change ourselves and change our, let go of our negative attitudes. But be able to evaluate our own behavior so that even if other people criticize us, if we look inside and we see, okay, what I did with awareness, I did it with a kind attitude, I wasn't acting unethically. Even if somebody's unhappy with what I did, it doesn't matter, because from my side, I know what I did was the right thing to do. Okay? Because if somebody praises us, but inside we look and we say, I just was putting on a face and I was basically lying to the other person, then do we feel good about ourselves? Yeah. You don't feel good about yourself when you're lying to other people. Okay? And your own self-esteem goes down even if those other people like you. Lots of Singaporeans come to me and they say, well, when we do business, to close the business deal, we have to just present the truth in a certain particular way that isn't exactly the way it is, but it's the way I have to do it to be able to sell my product or do my job. Okay, so many people tell me this. Is that good? Is that good for your country? Is that good for you personally? I don't think so. Yeah, but then people say, oh, but nobody's going to buy my product if I tell the truth. Well, if you aren't making a good product, you should make a better one. They should buy your product because it's good, not because you're lying about it. Okay? Because you see, sooner or later, if we lie, other people find out that we lied, then they're not going to trust us after that. Okay? So especially in business, if you sell a product based on not telling the truth, then afterwards, when other people figured out that you were lying to them, they're never going to come to your company again. Okay? Whereas if you are truthful, and even, you say, this works well, but that part doesn't work so well. If you're truthful, people are going to trust you, and they're going to continue to do business with you over a long period of time. So that's better for you personally, and it's better for the country as a whole. Okay? So really think about this. Okay, now we're going to get into the text, right? So we finished verse 23 yesterday, so we'll start with 24 today. Okay, with prostrations as numerous as atoms within all the Buddha fields, I bow to the Buddhas present in all the three times, to the Dharma and to the sublime assembly. Okay, so here we're thinking of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Okay, the sublime assembly refers to the Sangha, and we're thinking of the Buddhas in the three times, the past, the present, and the future. And with as prostrations as numerous as the atoms within all the Buddha fields. So what you think is, how many universes there are, how many Buddha lands there are, and that with that many bodies, you offer prostrations. So you can visualize all your previous lives offering prostrations to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Or you can imagine yourself doing that many prostrations. Okay? But the idea is that you're really being wholehearted in showing your respect and regard for the three jewels. Okay? And why do we show respect and regard for them? Because they have many good qualities, and we want to develop those same good qualities. Okay, so verse 25, likewise I pay homage to all the shrines and to the resting places of the Bodhisattvas. I prostrate to the preceptors and to the praiseworthy adepts as well. Okay, so again, we're paying respect to all the shrines, to the stupas, the pagodas, the places where the Buddha lived. We're prostrating to all of the preceptors, to all of our teachers, to all sincere practitioners. And in doing so, we create a karmic link with them. Okay? And by seeing their good qualities, we become receptive to developing those same good qualities ourselves. I go for refuge to the Buddha as far as the quintessence of enlightenment. I go for refuge to the Dharma and to the community of Bodhisattvas. Okay? So here we're taking the Mahayana refuge. Yeah, we're going to the Buddha, Dharma, and assembly of Bodhisattvas for refuge. Refuge means that we are trusting them as our spiritual guides, okay? Taking refuge means that we've really seen the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. We've thought about the teachings the Buddha has given. We have some faith and confidence in them because we've thought about them. We want to practice them. And so we're entrusting the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha to guide us to enlightenment. Okay? So taking refuge is something that we do every day in our Dharma practice. And it's also something that we can do in a ceremony. So there's a very nice ceremony that you do with a Dharma teacher where you formally take refuge in the three jewels. And at that time you also have the opportunity to take any or all of the 5 precepts. So to abandon killing, stealing, unwise sexual behavior, lying, and intoxicants. Okay? So there's that way of formally taking refuge where you become a Buddhist and where you really feel the practice of people who have studied and actualized the path from the time of the Buddha down to your own teacher. And you're joining into that energy, into the lineage of practitioners. So it's quite a wonderful ceremony to do. But also, taking refuge is something we do every day. You know, we should do it when we first get up in the morning and also before we go to sleep at night. We should entrust the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha with our spiritual guidance before we do any kind of important project. Okay? And if we do, what we're doing is we are reminding ourselves of the Dharma teachings. And the more we remember the teachings and try and live according to them, the happier our life is going to be. Okay. With folded hands, I beseech the fully awakened ones present in all directions and the greatly compassionate Bodhisattvas. Whatever negativity I, a brute, have committed or caused others to commit in this life and others throughout the beginningless cycle of existence, and anything in which I have deludedly rejoiced, thereby harming myself, that transgression I confess, overcome by remorse. Okay, so now we're getting into one of the main parts of chapter 2, which is confession. Okay, the confession of our wrongdoings. Yeah, and this is very, very important because all of us have made mistakes. And if we can't be honest about our mistakes and admit them and clean them up, then they're just going to fester underneath the surface and create a lot of unhappiness in our life and bring us a lot of guilt and remorse. And in addition, the negative karma we created is going to be there ready to ripen in experiences of suffering and misery. So this process of confession, of revealing our wrongdoing, of owning up to our misdeeds, this is all very, very important. And it's psychologically cleansing and very healing. And it's also spiritually uplifting because it takes a lot of energy to try and cover up our mistakes, doesn't it? Yeah? Anybody here who's never made a mistake? Anybody here who's always acted ethically? Okay. Anybody here who's never lied? Okay. Or never talked behind somebody's back? Or said mean things to somebody? Okay. Anybody here who's never killed another living being, including animals and insects? Or who's never stole anything? Yeah? I mean, we've done a lot of negative karma, haven't we? Yeah. And that this negative karma can be the source of a great amount of low self-esteem, a great amount of guilt in our life, okay? Whereas if we are able to reveal these negativities and own up to them and make a determination to avoid doing them again in the future, then we let them go. We put that energy behind us, and we are no longer psychologically and spiritually burdened by them. Okay? So this is these verses here that we're getting into now about where we're really confessing our negativities are very, very important. Okay? And I think it was maybe the first night, maybe the second night of our talks here, somebody was asking me if I would explain about how to purify negative karma. So that's what I'm going to do right now, because this purification practice is how we clean up all of these misdeeds and negativities that we've done in the past. Okay? So there's something called the four opponent powers. And through doing these four opponent powers, this is what enables us to purify these negative karmas. Okay, the first of the four opponent powers is regret. Okay, so regret means that we acknowledge our negative action and we regret it. We're sorry that we did it. Okay? Regret is very different from guilt. Okay? And I really want to talk about this. This is very important because some people go around their whole lives feeling very guilty, and it's really useless. Yeah, guilt is a very useless emotion. Yeah, and it's different from regret, because when we have regret, there's a certain factor of wisdom. We're looking at the situation, we see, I acted inappropriately, I regret that. Yeah, so there's wisdom, we're acknowledging it, we're sincere in regretting it, and we're going to let it go. We're not going to let that negative action weigh on us anymore. Okay? Whereas guilt, very often guilt doesn't have any wisdom at all or any genuine regret. What are we thinking when we feel guilty? Oh, I'm so terrible. Look at what I did. I'm such a horrible person. Nobody's ever gonna like me. They're never gonna trust me because I'm this really disgusting person. This is terrible what I did. I can never look at anybody again. This is awful. I feel so bad my whole life. I'm gonna weigh down with this. Oh, poor me. That's the way we are if we feel guilty, isn't it? Isn't that the kind of what's going on in our mind? Okay, who's the star of the show when we feel guilty? Who are we thinking about? Ourselves, aren't we? Do we really care that we hurt somebody else's feelings? No, we don't have time to care about the other person. We're too busy feeling terrible about ourselves. Okay? So that's why I say guilt is really useless. Because sitting there feeling terrible about ourselves, it's another way of self-infatuation, of self-importance, okay? Of making a bigger deal out of ourselves than we really are. Because you know what guilt is saying? Guilt is saying, if I can't be the best one, I'm going to be the worst one. But somehow I'm very special. I'm so guilty. The whole situation is awful because of me. It's really an inflated sense of power, isn't it? Yeah, I can make everything go wrong. That's how powerful I am. The marriage is a mess, all because of me. I'm very powerful, all by myself. Okay, the whole office, my company is a mess, all because of me. I'm really powerful. I can make it all go wrong. It's really an inflated sense of self, isn't it? Yeah. Whenever there's some disagreement or something is going wrong, it's not due to just one person. There's multiple causes and conditions. Yeah, we shouldn't be so inflated that we can make everything go wrong all by ourselves. Okay? And when we feel guilty, we're really stuck. Whereas when we feel regret, we're seeing our mistake. We're acknowledging it. We're not feeling ashamed and covering it up. Okay? With guilt, we feel ashamed, we cover it up, and so we never really acknowledge it. Sometimes even to ourselves, we don't acknowledge our own misdeeds. Yeah, because we're too busy justifying and rationalizing. Okay, but inside we still feel guilty. Whereas regret, we're acknowledging it, we're not feeling ashamed. We know we aren't an inherently evil person. We know it was a negative action, we regret it, we want to abandon doing it again. Okay, and so we can own up to it. And so in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we tell them our negative actions. Yeah? And I think that this is very, very healthy and very important for us. Because if we can't admit our negative actions, we're going to go through our whole life doing, a big song and dance routine, trying to look good. And it takes a lot of energy to cover up our mistakes. Whereas if we just own our mistakes and apologize and have a strong determination to try and do better in the future, then we can clean the things up. Okay? So we have regret. Yeah? And then we have a determination. The second of the 4 opponent powers is a determination not to do the action again. Okay? So this is really making a strong intention. Whenever I do this, I just don't feel right afterwards. And I know this isn't a healthy thing to do. And I'm really going to do my best not to do that again. Okay? So there's a strong intention not to do it again. Now, some actions, it may be really difficult to say I'm never going to do them again. Like gossiping. Do you think you can truthfully say I'm never going to gossip again? Or would you be lying if you said I'm never going to gossip again? Okay, we might be lying if we said I'm never going to do it. So it's better to say I'm going to try really hard not to do it, or it's better to set a time period. Okay, for the next 2 days, I'm going to be incredibly vigilant and not gossip about people. Okay? Or we've acted negatively in relationship to other sentient beings. But in any case, whenever we've negative action, it's damaged that relationship. Okay? Why? Because our intention towards the others has been negative. So what we need to do to fix that is to instead generate constructive, beneficial intention towards them. So in terms of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, okay, a constructive intention towards them is taking refuge. In terms of other sentient beings, a beneficial intention is developing bodhicitta, having love and compassion for them. In this third opponent power, what we do is we take refuge in our spiritual mentors, in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and generate bodhicitta, the loving, compassionate intention to become a fully enlightened Buddha for the benefit of all others. Okay? When we do that, because we're changing our attitude towards whoever we harmed, then restoring the relationship with them. Now the question comes, that's fine to restore the relationship inside of ourselves, but shouldn't we also go and apologize to the other person? Well, yes, if the situation is such that you can apologize, it's very good to do that. But sometimes the person whom we created negative karma is dead, and we can't apologize to them. In some cases, the person has very hurt feelings, and so it's difficult to apologize to them because they're not ready to talk to us yet. We have to respect that. And so that's why the restoring the relationship is referring to changing our intention. Okay? In our mind, we're letting go of kind of negative thoughts or emotions that either towards our spiritual teacher and the Buddha, Dharma, or towards ordinary sentient beings. We're letting go of negative thoughts and emotions, and instead we're creating positive, taking refuge, generating bodhicitta. Okay? If we do that, we're changing the intention in our own mind. And that's the important thing to purify the negative karma, is what's happening inside of ourselves. In addition, if it's possible to apologize to the other person, we should do that. But it's not always necessary to do that, because like sometimes, we've lost touch with them, or they're still feeling very hurt, they don't want to talk to us, or maybe they've died, or who knows what. Okay? So if we can apologize, it's good. Otherwise, the important thing is transforming our own heart. Now, I think if we can apologize sooner rather than later, it's good. Yeah. Because we never know when we're going to die, and we never know when the other person's going to die. And how would you feel in your own heart? You've acknowledged that you hurt these feelings, you acted inappropriately, but because your pride is interfering, you haven't gone to them, apologized to them, and then they die. How would you feel? You might feel pretty bad, wouldn't you? Yeah, because you've been trying to apologize, but your ego got in the way. You're feeling very proud. Okay, I recognize negative action, but I'm not going to apologize. But when we don't apologize, who gets hurt by it? It's us, isn't it? Yeah? Because what happens if we die before we apologize? Or what happens if the other person dies? And we're sitting there feeling, I should have apologized, and it was just my ego that kept me from doing it. Okay? So to avoid kind of situations, it's much better to clean things with people right away, as soon as we can, so it doesn't fester. One time I was at a conference, and it was a conference about death and dying, for people who were working and doing hospice, and just general public, people who wanted to talk about that. And I remember that during the conference workshop, many people were going up to the microphone talking about their own personal experiences. And so many people were saying how they had acted in a negative, harmful way towards a family or towards a friend, and that person had died. Now they feel so bad because they never apologized to the person. And I remember, hearing so many people say this at the conference, and I was thinking, they're telling 500 people how sorry they are for a negative action they did years ago, but we're not people who need to hear it. The one person who needs to hear it didn't say it to. Yeah, and that makes me feel really bad, for them, for their sake. Because it just, when we can go and apologize, it just clears things up. Yeah, and similarly, when other people apologize to us, we should be gracious and accept their apology. We shouldn't go, well, it's about time. Gee, it's taken you, a long time. You hurt my feelings so bad. You were an idiot. I can't believe what you did. It's about time you apologize, you jerk. That's not the way we should talk to somebody who comes and apologizes. Okay? Instead, we should let go of our resentment and our rancor, and probably apologize to them if we were holding negative feelings against them. Yeah. You know how sometimes when our feelings have been hurt, we sit there and we go, I'm going to wait for them to apologize. I'm so mad at them. I can't stand them. I'm really mad. You've got to live with them. You're to them. You're married to them. They're your mother or your child or whatever. I'm not going to apologize. Yeah, they apologize to me because it was all their fault anyway. They started it. Yeah, we talk like that a lot to ourselves, don't we? Yeah, they started it. It was all their fault. They owe me an apology. Yeah. Then when they come and apologize to us, oh, it's about time, you idiot, you realized it later after you acted so poorly towards me. Actually, we should also apologize to them because we've been sitting there holding a lot of negative emotion towards them, haven't we? Yeah, when we're sitting there holding a towards somebody else, is that a virtuous state of mind? Are we creating good karma when we hold a grudge? Very far from good karma. So when that person finally apologizes to us, if we've been holding a negative intention towards them, we might consider apologizing to them too. Just clear it up. Let's everybody admit that we had a share in what happened instead of putting it on one person. Okay? Very important when people apologize to be gracious and to accept their apology. Okay. Then the fourth of the four opponent powers is some kind of remedial behavior. Yeah, some kind of remedial action. So this could be any kind of virtuous action. It could be a practice such as chanting mantra, or a meditation practice, visualizing the Buddha, doing breathing meditation. It could be making offerings, or helping to print books for free distribution, or volunteering your services to help organize Dharma events, or volunteering your to help at a temple or at a Dharma center. Doing some kind of volunteer work in society, or being generous, giving some kind of offering to the poor or to those who are sick. Yeah. So any virtuous practice could be bowing to the Buddhas. Yeah. Could be studying the Dharma. There are many ways to do this last part, which is the remedial behavior. Okay? So when we have, some sort of negative action that we really want to clean up, yeah, then we do these four opponent powers. Okay? Regretting them, yeah, making a determination not to do them again, repairing the relationship by taking refuge in generating bodhicitta, and then kind of remedial behavior, doing some kind of virtuous action. Those four are how to purify our negative actions. It's highly recommended to do four every day, because basically we create negative karma every day, don't we? Yeah, if you look at it, we create negative karma every day. So we should do kind of purification every evening, in order to clean up all the things that have happened during. And then sometimes people do purification retreats. Yeah, they'll do a special retreat that focus, very strongly on these four opponent powers, and really putting their energy into cleaning their lives, regretting their negativities, making new determinations, doing remedial actions, taking refuge, generating bodhicitta. And these retreats are very wonderful. People really change a lot during them, because you take the time to really look at your own life, be honest about it, and clean things up. And when we clean up things in our own life, then we're not feeling guilty. And when the time of death comes, we aren't afraid and we don't have any regrets. Whereas if we haven't cleaned up our negativities, when death comes, there's so much fear and so much regret. Who wants to die with fear and regret? Yeah, I don't think any of us want to die that way. Okay, so in these verses, okay, whatever negativity I, a brute, committed, okay, so the negative actions I've done myself or caused others to commit in this life. And so sometimes we make other people do negative actions. For example, you ask a family member to lie for you. You tell your employee to be dishonest. Okay? Or you tell somebody to, take something for you that hasn't been freely given. So, or you get people involved in criticizing other people behind their back, or you get involved in your quarrels and get them all revved up and angry. They say harsh words to somebody else. Okay? So those are negative actions that we've caused other people to do. So we've also got to regret that we intentionally have caused other people to create negative karma. So we're regretting that. We're also regretting anything in the next verse where it says, anything in which I have undoubtedly rejoiced. Okay? So when we have rejoiced at other people's negative actions, we have to confess as well. Okay? So maybe we didn't say something cruel about somebody, but we hear that somebody else, we go, oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad they told that. They deserve that. Yeah. So, or, that's rejoicing in negativity. Or if we read the news, oh, they killed all these people. Good, I'm glad they killed them. Such an evil person. I'm glad they killed. Yeah. So having this kind of attitude, whenever we rejoice at negative actions, we get negative action ourselves. Okay? Reading, somebody gave me a Singapore newspaper. They're going to hang one young man who killed a child. Yeah? Reading about that. And I felt so sorry, the young man, he had an IQ of 76. He doesn't understand what he's doing. An IQ of 100 is normal. 76 is very low. To execute somebody like that who does not have complete intelligence, why do that? And if people about that kind of thing, saying, oh, good, he killed him. Good, we got to go kill him. Then you just are creating lots of karma yourself. Okay? If somebody's doing harmful action, okay, maybe they need to be in prison so that they don't harm somebody else. But why kill them? And why rejoice in somebody else killing them? Yeah? Okay, so these are the kinds of things that we're confessing, yeah? Wrongdoings that we've caused others to do, that we've rejoiced when other people have done. Okay, and then verse 30, whatever offense committed out of disrespect with my body, speech, and mind against the three jewels, against mothers and fathers, against spiritual mentors and others, and whatever terrible I, a person who has done negative acts, defiled with many faults, have done, O guides, I confess them all. Okay? Here we're confessing any negative acts that we may have done with a mind of disrespect, and that we've done by means of body, speech, and mind. So actions that we've done with our body, like killing unwise sexual behavior, harmful actions we've done verbally, lying, creating disharmony, harsh words, gossip, negative actions we've done mentally, having, a mind full of coveting and attachment, or ill will, or wrong views, okay? Whenever we've been disrespectful towards those who are worthy of respect, then we're confessing all of this. We may have been disrespectful towards the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, okay? Criticize the Dharma and Sangha. You see people do it all the time. Stealing the offerings that have been given to Dharma and Sangha. So these of disrespectful actions, we're confessing these. We're confessing things that we've done against our parents, okay? When we've had spoken negatively to our parents, okay? When we've called them names, lost our temper, okay? Now it's impossible to please our parents all the time, we can't please our parents 100% of the time, but not pleasing them is different than having a negative attitude and swearing at them or throwing at them or screaming at them and calling them names. Okay? So we're regretting those kind of disrespectful actions. We're also regretting ways in which we have disrespected our spiritual mentor. Okay? Because our relationship with our Dharma teacher is a very, very important relationship. In fact, I would say the most important relationship in our life, because this is the person that's going to teach us the Dharma, which is going to enable us to get out of cyclic existence. If we turn our back on this person and criticize them and get angry at them and call them names and in a very disrespectful way, we're harming ourselves very, very badly. It's creating a lot of negative karma, because here's the very person who's trying to lead us to enlightenment, who's being really kind and with compassion giving us teachings, and instead we're seeing them as an enemy. So when our mind sees somebody who's compassionate as an enemy, then our mind really pretty messed up at that moment, okay? So that kind of negativity, we really have to regret and repair that relationship. It's very important, because otherwise we run the risk of just, leaving the Dharma altogether, and that's not very good to do, okay? So we're regretting whatever terrible vices, whatever mistaken actions that we've done. We're confessing and acknowledging all of them, okay, in the presence of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It says, how shall I escape it? Rescue me quickly. May death not soon creep up me before my vices have vanished. So here, Shantideva, remember I was saying he talks in the first person? He's talking himself, okay? And so he's trying to talk in the same way. So asking ourselves, how shall I escape it? I've done all these negative actions. How am I going to avoid experiencing the painful results of them? These negative karmic seeds are on my mind. If I don't purify quickly and I die before I've purified, how am I going to avoid experiencing the painful results of my own actions? So that's Shantideva is saying, rescue me quickly. He's calling out to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, saying, teach me how to purify my own mind. Rescue me from this kind of negativity. May death not soon creep upon me before my vices have vanished. In other words, may I not die before I've had a chance to purify. But then he goes on and reflects, death does not differentiate between tasks done and undone. This traitor is not to be trusted by the healthy or the ill, for it is like an unexpected great thunder. Okay. So while we may not want to die, we may want to have a lot of time so that we can purify our activities, death doesn't discriminate. When our karma is finished, or when a negative karma ripens to intervene and cause illness and untimely death, we have no choice. Yeah, death can come when we're sick. It can come when we're healthy. Yeah, we know people who have been completely healthy one day and they were in a terrible car crash and they were dead the next day. Healthy one day and they had a brain aneurysm and the next day they were dead. Or they had a heart attack, the next day they were dead. So death does not differentiate between the sick and the healthy. It can strike at any time. We have no idea. And death also doesn't differentiate between tasks done and tasks undone. So it's not like we can say, okay, I'm going to do everything I want to do and then I'll die. Okay? Because we always die with something undone. Because we're always in the middle of doing something. So if we all, if we spend our time thinking, I'll practice Dharma later. First I have to do this other thing. I have plenty of time to live. I'm young. Death isn't going to happen soon. Death is going to happen later. After I do all these other things. After I finish all my worldly affairs. After I finish doing my practice, then death will come. Is that a wise way to think? No, that's not very wise at all. Yeah, death comes at any time, whether we're ready for it, whether we've practiced the Dharma, whether we haven't. So this mind that's always saying, I'll practice Dharma tomorrow, that mind is a big enemy. Yeah, that thought is a big enemy. Because we don't know if tomorrow we're going to be alive. Do we? Anybody have guarantees that you'll be alive tomorrow? Anybody guarantee for us that we're going to be alive tomorrow? Nobody can guarantee that, can they? Yeah. So if we're going to do Dharma practice, we have to do it now, because now is the only time to practice the Dharma. It doesn't matter how old you are. Yeah, death can come at any moment, and we only have now to practice. It's important that we practice now. Yeah, the mind is saying, later, later, first I'll make money, I'll have a good time, I'll do this and that and the other thing, and later I'll practice the Dharma. Does later ever happen? Okay. So when we see that death could happen at any time, then we know we have to practice the Dharma now. Yeah, very important. Why is it important? Because at the time of death, our body doesn't come with us, our friends don't come with us, our relatives don't come with us, our money and possessions don't come with us, our fame and reputation don't come with us, all of the praise and approval we've received don't come with us. The only thing that comes at the time of death is our karma and our mental habits. Those are the only things that come with the continuity of consciousness at the time of death. So we can spend our whole life working very hard to get money and possessions and a good reputation and love and appreciation, but none of those things come with us at the time of death. And what comes with us is all the negative karma accumulated getting those things, okay? By lying, by being dishonest, by talking behind people's backs. All that negative karma comes, okay? But what we created negative karma to get doesn't come at all, okay? Even we're so famous and well respected that everybody in the world mourns when we die. We aren't even here to enjoy it. Yeah? What good is a use is a good reputation after you die? Yeah? Sometimes we sit there and we think, people don't appreciate me enough and I'm so wonderful, but after I die, you know, at my funeral, then they're going to all be crying, they're going to say such nice, wonderful things about me. Where are you going to be at that time? Are you going to be around to hear and listen to it? We're going to be in our next life. So people may be crying about us here. We have no idea. We're already in a next life. I have committed various vices for the sake of friends and enemies. This I have not recognized. Leaving everyone behind, I must pass away. My enemies will not remain, nor will my friends remain. I shall not remain. Nothing will remain. Whatever is experienced will fade to a memory, like an experience in a dream. Everything that has passed will not be seen again. Even in this life, as I have stood by, many friends and enemies have passed away, but terrible negativities induced by them remain ahead of me. Thus, I have not considered that I am ephemeral. Due to delusion, attachment, and hatred, I have committed many negativities. Day and night, a lifespan unceasingly diminishes, and there is no adding onto it. Shall I not die then? Okay, so what all these verses are saying is that for the benefit of our friends and relatives, we've created a lot of negative karma, and yet at the time of death, we separate from these friends and relatives. And even when we die, even if our friends and relatives are all around us, can they prevent us from dying? Not at all. Yeah? Even if they're all around us, they're holding our hand, saying, I love you so much, don't leave. Can that prevent us from dying? No. Okay. So, at the time of death, our friends and relatives can't really help us very much. In fact, sometimes they make it more difficult to die because they're crying and wailing, and instead of being able to focus on dying mindfully ourselves and generating a good motivation ourselves, the dying person feels like they have to take care of their friends and relatives. Something backwards, isn't it? Okay? But for the sake of these same friends and relatives, we've done so many negative actions, and at the time we die, all that negative karma comes with us. Friends and relatives stay here, the negative karma we carry on with us to experience their unhappy results. Similarly, our enemies, the people we don't like, the people we can't stand, the people that we want to harm and retaliate because they hurt us, yeah, those people are also going to die. Yeah, when we die, we stay here. We go on alone. Why try and harm an enemy if they're going to die someday? Yeah? What value is it harming somebody else if we're just going to create negative karma, and when we go on on to our next life, take that negative karma with us. That enemy stays here. What use is it, harming somebody else? Because all that behavior just creates more negative karma, okay, more stuff for us to purify. So what these verses, what Shantideva's doing, is he's warning us against creating negative karma in relationship to friends or enemies or even strangers. And he's also letting us know how important it is that we purify and practice the four opponent powers before we die. Okay, so that we don't take that negative karma with us to the future lives. Okay, so let's pause here. We'll have some questions, some Q&A time. So you can write your questions down and pass them up. In the meantime, I'll take some questions from yesterday. So taking the Bodhisattva vows is the responsibility of many lives. So how do we ensure that in our future lives we are still able to continue with this responsibility of having taken the Bodhisattva vow? We practice hard, okay? When we take the Bodhisattva vow, and the more we're able to keep that vow, we create so much incredible good karma, okay? And so just keeping the Bodhisattva vow really helps us to create the cause for a good rebirth in the future, okay? It doesn't ensure it, but it sure helps to create a lot of causes for it, okay? Even if don't know what we're going to be reborn as in the future, still it's good to take the Bodhisattva vows, because that imprint of the will be there, and it'll definitely, influence our future lives in a positive way, and make it so that in future lives, one lifetime or another, we will again meet the Mahayana teachers, meet a Mahayana spiritual master, and be able to practice. So even if by some chance we're born as an animal in between, still maybe we'll be a kind animal, yeah? And then after that, be able to have another precious human life and continue to practice. Okay. So somebody's saying, we would like to know more about your Abbey and the purpose and activities you organize, and where can we get more information about the Abbey, and can we visit? Yes, you're all welcome to visit the Abbey. Shravanti Abbey is in eastern Washington State, which is in the northwest part of the U.S. So you fly to Seattle and then take a connecting flight to Spokane. We have 240 acres of very, very beautiful land. All the boards in the back there's pictures, and you can take a look. And the Abbey is something very special in the U.S. Because it's not a temple, and it's not a Dharma center, and it's not a retreat center, it's a monastery. Okay, and to make Buddhism take root in any country, it's very important to have monks and nuns. Yeah, and to have monks and nuns, you need a monastery where people can train. Yeah, because they can't just train any old place, you really need a monastery. And then when you have monks and nuns, Buddhism can really take root in a country and flourish. In America right now, there are hardly any monasteries where monks and nuns can go to receive training. So Shravasti Abbey is really kind of special in that regard. And It's a place not only for monks and nuns, but for people who are thinking of ordaining, where they can come and stay and get the experience of monastic life to see if it's something that they want to do. The Abbey is also a place where lay people, or regular, ordinary people can come to practice, and where you can have an experience of living in a community and living as monastics would live, with that same kind of daily schedule and community life. So people are very welcome to come and visit. Sometimes we have retreats. Retreats might be a weekend, they might be a week. We have a 3-month retreat in the winter, so you can come for that. We have courses that you can come for. We have a youth program. Every summer we have a course for young adults age 18 to 25, where young people can come and practice and live in community with other, Buddhist young people, and they really enjoy that. That's one's a lot of fun. So you can come for that, or you can come even when we don't have a program going on and just participate in our daily Abbey life, with meditation in the morning and evening, and teaching and Dharma discussion and offering service. So it's a whole way that we practice living the Dharma together. So you're all very, very welcome to come. Okay? Please do. And if somebody wants to organize a trip, because I know Singaporeans like to go places together, then we can have a special retreat or a special course just for Singaporeans to come to the Abbey. Oops.
What about visa problem?
Singaporeans, it's very easy to get a US visa if you're Singaporean. How can I let go and watch my children make mistakes? I want to get out of this suffering of worrying and nagging at them. Good for you. Yeah? Because when you worry and when you nag your kids, you just create a lot of disturbance in your relationship, because the kids don't want to be around you, because every time they're around you, you're nagging them, you're worrying them, worrying about them. So this person who really wants to stop nagging and worrying about their kids, good for you. Okay. Now, how do you do that? How do you let your kids make their own mistakes? You realize that your job as a parent is to educate your children. Okay? You give them an education. You teach them good ethical values. And by education, I don't mean math and English and things like this. But you teach them how to be a good human being. You teach them how to be kind. You teach them good ethical values. You teach them how to deal with situations when they feel frustrated because they can't get what they want. Okay, that's a very important life skill that parents need to teach their kids, is how to deal with the frustration of not getting what you want. Because your kids are going to experience that sometime in their life. Okay? So you teach them these skills, and then you have to let go. And you have to let them learn through their own experience. Because if we all look at our own lives, we can all see that we sometimes had to make mistakes in order to learn very important things. If you look at your own life, is that true? That sometimes you had to do really stupid things to learn something very important? And that maybe people beforehand, they tried to tell you that was a stupid thing to do, but you couldn't understand it. And they talked until they were blue in the face, but we didn't listen. We had to go and live and have our own experience. And then we knew from our own experience that that was a mistake. Okay? So there's some things like this, where as a parent, you may want to protect your child from the suffering of making mistakes, but you can't do that. And that's not your job. At some point, or at many different points, as your child is growing up, you have to let them make their own decisions and find out by making their own mistakes. And in that way, they learn that they have to be responsible for their actions. Yeah, it's really important that kids learn that they're responsible for their actions. And if they do certain things, certain results are going to come. Okay? Not only karmic results in future life, but results even this lifetime. And sometimes kids just have to make mistakes, no matter what you do. And so it's better sometimes that you just step back. You've given them the tools. Now let them try and develop their own wisdom. Yeah? And maybe they'll do it well, and maybe they'll make a mistake, and that the way they'll learn. Okay. Do you remember when you were a teenager, how much you knew? Yeah. And when we're teenagers and young adults, we think we know everything. Yeah. And our parents give us advice, and sometimes we think, my parents, why are they giving me that advice? They're not very smart. Okay? But as you live your life longer and you make mistakes, then sometimes you see that your parents' advice was good. But at the time you couldn't see it, and the only way you learn is by making a mistake. Okay? And sometimes, you stop worrying, you stop nagging your kids. They go out and they do something, and they do it very, very well. Yeah, you might be surprised at how much you can trust your kids. Yeah, so sometimes give them some credit and stop worrying and trust them, and trust in their own wisdom that even if they make a mistake, they'll learn and it'll be good in the end. And they may not make a mistake. They may act and do something very wise. Yeah? And in fact, maybe sometimes your advice may not be the best thing for them. Yeah? We have to give that kind of space. Oh, many more questions. Okay, so my mother passed away in 2000. I love her a lot. How should I help her to achieve more positive karma? And can I help her to have a good rebirth? Okay, so when we have friends and relatives, people that we care very much about who have died, it's very good to create some positive potential, to create some merit and dedicate it for them. This creates a good energy field around them. So what can be very good to do is take some of their possessions and donate them to a charity. Okay? So take things that belong to your mother or your father or your, whoever it is that died that you love, and offer them to a charity so that, by giving away that person's personal things, it's like they're creating the good karma of being generous, and so that will help them. Or make offerings to a temple. Make offerings to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Make offerings to a monastery, and by being generous, you create positive karma, then you dedicate that for the welfare of your deceased loved ones. Another thing to do is the King of Prayers. Yeah, this is a wonderful, very beautiful prayer by the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. And you can recite that and dedicate that for your loved ones. You can sponsor prayers and so on. You know, the Abbey, we will be doing prayers on December 15th for people's wishes and their loved ones. And you can ask us to do prayers and dedicate for your loved ones, and we'd be happy to do that. So basically you do many positive actions. What also is very nice is to do a meditation practice with your loved one. And so, for example, visualize, imagine your loved one with Kuan Yin on top of their head. And then when you say O Mani Padme Hung, or when you say Namo Quan Shien Pusa, imagine much light from Kuan Yin flowing down into your loved one and cleansing their negative karma and bringing them realizations of the Dharma path. Okay? So doing that kind of meditation, visualizing Kuan Yin's compassionate light flowing into your loved one, that can be very, very helpful. So what are your views on worshiping the Buddha's relics and his disciples' relics? Isn't Buddhism becoming commercialized, or is this my wrong view? Okay. The purpose of going to see relics is to inspire our mind so that we practice the Dharma. Okay? Now, while it is true, if we bow to the relics, we make offerings to the relics, if we're doing something positive like that in relationship to the relics, we're creating good karma. But the real purpose of seeing the relics is to think, wow, there were these holy beings who learned the teachings and put them into practice in their daily life, and who really tried to purify and develop their good qualities, and I want to be like them. So if you see the relics and you generate that kind of thought where you feel inspired to do more practice, that's the real purpose of having the relics here. And out of that respect for those holy beings and respect for the realizations, and because you want to gain those realizations, then if you bow, then if you make offerings, you create a lot of merit. Okay? However, when this person is asking about things being commercialized, you know, we should not use relics or Buddhist things to how to say, to like charge people and you know, make them pay a lot of money to see the relics or stuff like that. I feel very strongly that Dharma teachings should be freely given, you know, and that things that are wonderful and virtuous should be very freely shared. Okay, if Mother Teresa were a Buddhist, since her heart is pure and brimming with so much loving kindness and compassion, would she have gone very far on the path to enlightenment? Yeah, why not? Okay, even if Mother Teresa isn't a Buddhist, okay, she's did a lot of very wonderful actions caring for other people. Yeah, and by the power of her loving, compassionate actions, I'm sure that, you know, that helped her to have a good rebirth and to progress along the path to enlightenment. Okay, so this person is asking about women in particular, but I think this question applies to everybody. Okay, so I'm just going to give it in a gender-neutral thing. By the way, this is one quality of the Abbey. We are gender equal. Okay? You'll see pictures of the guys cooking and the women digging ditches. So, okay. So, if people want to do serious Dharma practice, will marriage and childbirth hinder their spiritual progress? On the other hand, what are the benefits of marriage and childbirth to their Dharma practice? This depends completely on the individual, okay? If you have a family and you develop a lot of attachment to your family, so that you ignore your Dharma practice and you're always worried about your family and you don't want to be generous because you want your children to have the money, and if you commit a lot of negative actions, you know, for the benefit of your family, then having a family doesn't have much purpose, okay? If you have a family and you try and teach your children the Dharma, if you teach them good ethical values and good, you know, to be generous and kind people, that's very good. You create good karma and they do. If you use your family life as a practice of patience, then you will also progress along the path, because it takes a lot of patience and love and compassion to live in a family, doesn't it? Because all your relatives are not going to do what you want, and you have to practice patience with them. Yeah, Shantideva, the text that we're studying, chapter 6, talks all about patience, and we very often have to practice that with our family. So if you practice patience in your family, you accumulate positive potential. Okay? So it depends very much on the individual, whether their family life becomes the cause for the enlightenment or cause for a lot of suffering. Depends on your mind, whether you're kind, whether you're ethical, you know, what your intention is. I think it's very helpful for a couple if they make the Dharma a very important part of their life together, so that they help and encourage each other in their Dharma practice. You know, it's very nice if you do some meditation practice together or go to Dharma teachings together. It's a very good example for children to see their parents practicing the Dharma. Yeah, because so often parents say to their children, "Oh, just sit still and be quiet." Okay, don't you say that to your kids sometimes? Okay, but do your kids ever see you sit still and be quiet? No. So if they never see you sitting still and being patient and calm, how are they going to develop it? Okay, but if in your marriage you make Dharma values something very important for you, and the husband and wife really help each other in the Dharma practice, then your children have a good frame of reference and they'll copy that good behavior. Okay? On the other hand, if there's people who don't want to have a family, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think parents should nag their children to get married and to have to give them grandchildren. And if you have children that want to ordain, I think you should definitely encourage it, because it's an incredible blessing for the whole family to have somebody who's ordained. Okay, then you have your very own Dharma teacher there. Yeah? And so and if people want to ordain, I think they should be encouraged in doing that, because it's their work that they do on themselves as an ordained person is they dedicate it for the benefit of the entire planet and for all beings, so everybody benefits from that. Okay, so let's read the verses that we did today. And instead of the word sin, let's use negativity. Okay? Or instead of the word sinner, we use one who has committed negativity. So we'll start with verse 24, and we'll stop at 39. So we'll include 39. Okay? With prostrations as numerous as the atoms within all the Buddha fields, I bow to the Buddhas present in all the three times, to the Dharma and to the Sublime Assembly. Likewise, I pay homage to all the shrines and to the resting places of the Bodhisattva. I prostrate to the preceptors and to the praiseworthy adepts as well. I go for refuge to the Buddha as far as the quintessence of enlightenment. I go for refuge to the Dharma and the community of Bodhisattvas. With folded hands, I beseech the fully awakened ones present in all directions and the greatly compassionate Bodhisattvas. Whatever negativity I, a brute, have committed or caused others to commit in this life and others throughout the beginningless cycle of existence, and anything in which I have deludedly rejoiced, thereby harming myself, that transgression I confess, overcome by remorse. Whatever offense I have committed out of disrespect with my body, speech, and mind against the three jewels, against mothers and fathers, and against spiritual mentors and others. Whatever terrible vices I, a person who has committed negativity, defiled with many faults, have done, O guides, I confess them all. How shall I escape it? Rescue me quickly. May death not soon creep upon me before my vices have vanished. Death does not differentiate between tasks done and undone. This traitor is not to be trusted by the healthy or the ill, for it is like an unexpected great thunderbolt. I have committed various vices for the sake of friends and enemies. This I have not recognized. Leaving everyone behind, I must pass away. My enemies will not remain, nor will my friends remain. I shall not remain. Nothing will remain. Whatever is experienced will fade to a memory, like an experience in a dream. Everything that has passed will not be seen again. Even in this life, as I have stood by, many friends and enemies have passed away, but terrible negativity induced by them remains ahead of me. Thus I have not considered that I am ephemeral. Due to delusion, attachment, and hatred, I have committed many negativities. Day and night, a lifespan unceasingly diminishes, and there is no adding on to it. Shall I not die then? So let's sit quietly for a minute and contemplate what we've heard. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.